Hey, so in today's video we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? What's this video about? Hey, in today's video we're going to talk about what to tell your hairdresser to get your perfect style that you've been wanting and that you've maybe seen on a photograph or you've seen on someone else. The most important part of a hair appointment is the consultation. And the reason is because it can either be completely understood and as a hairdresser, you know exactly what the client wants, and sometimes you think you know, and that's not at all what they wanted. I would say most of the time is miscommunication or the client not knowing how to explain what they want. Sometimes having a picture, even though I always say bring a picture, show me a picture, or if the client doesn't have a picture, I like to pull out either like my phone or something and find a picture and show them and say this is, this is the color level, because a swatch also it can be a little different because it's hard for them to see it like on a face. So I think a picture is always a good idea. First of all, for length, when someone says cut off an inch, I know we all learn the same metric system, or at least in the United States we did, but still an inch to me as what an inch to someone else is completely different. So the most important thing is body references. And the hairdresser, when you say like I want shoulder length, the hairdresser should actually touch the body part, and it should, because some people, just barely off the shoulder higher is shoulder length, whereas some people just a little past the shoulder is shoulder length. Point, show, like it's a visual thing, and most hairdressers are very visual, as many visuals as possible. So the hairdresser, first of all, yes, she should point to where that length is, and you should, if it's middle of the back, you should be comfortable with that and make sure that that's exactly what you want. And then secondly, for color, when people say dark brown, or when people send me a message and saying I have medium brown hair, well, what is medium brown? Like, even if another hairdresser was telling me medium brown, I mean, it could be warm brown, it could be cool brown, it could be a level 4 brown, or it could be level 6 brown. I mean, even though 6 is technically already blonde, I mean, to some people looking at it, you would never say that a level 6 is blonde, so most people would categorize it as brown. So with that being said, everyone sees color differently. What I think is warm, someone might think is neutral. I mean, so it's better to just have either a swatch or a picture again. But then even on top of that, when say, the client has done their homework and they do bring in a picture, it's our job as a hairdresser then to analyze that picture. Because a lot of times I've had clients bring me a picture and they say like, oh, this is the haircut I want. And their hair color is completely different from what's in the picture, and that's okay. And then you do that haircut and they're like, oh, well, it looks different, and I'm not trying to make any excuses for hairdressers in any way, but if I do the exact same haircut on that picture on you, it will most likely look different. First of all, everyone always talks about face shape, but it's not just about face shape. I think if anything, it's more important your head shape, because someone that just kind of has like a taller head, their hair will always look longer and more voluminous. I mean, and that's just how it is. And for someone that doesn't have a lot of volume or doesn't have that head shape, if I give them that same haircut, it won't look the same on them, and then they think that I did it wrong. So as a hairdresser, you need to know exactly what about that picture that client likes, so that you can give them, because when someone shows you a picture, I'm not necessarily doing that on you. Sometimes I have to do it completely different for it to look like that on you, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people understand. So I think it's important for you to know that, and knowing that, it will make it so much easier when you go into a salon and you're trying to explain what you want. So as a hairdresser, when someone does show me a picture, I always ask, what about this picture do you like? And so people will just be like, oh, the haircut or the color. And what about the color? And sometimes I'm thinking, oh, it's full of gold tones, and that's what I'm seeing. And they're like, oh, I like it because there's no red in it or there's no gold. So at that point, I'm like, okay, so what are they seeing differently? And now I'm glad I asked, because I know that they don't like gold tones. Another time when you do see photographs in magazines or anything of hair, most likely that hair has been touched up or photoshopped or whatever have you. So when hair gets photoshopped, it gets tones that are unnatural and almost impossible to get most of the time in, you know, naturally, or I mean with color. So because with Photoshop you can get a level 6, which is a very dark blonde or pretty light brown. In the correct lighting and Photoshopped, you can get it to look brunette, but with shimmers of blonde, and that's nearly impossible to do in real life. When people say like, oh, I like this haircut, and it's a haircut full of layers or something like that, and when I ask, they're like, well, the way it like hugs her chin, and sometimes I think that that will be flattering for that person, and I know, oh, okay, that's what they want. And sometimes it'll be a picture of kind of the front, and as a hairdresser, you know what the back's gonna look like, and I explain what the back's gonna look like, and they're like, oh, no, that's not what I want. In the back, I want it straight, or in the back, I don't want layers. So it's very important to nitpick exactly what point of that you like. So when you go into your hairdresser and you do have a picture, say, I like how it hits, you know, her shoulders. I like how most of the volume is at the bottom and not at the top, or vice versa. I like how it gives it that voluminous look on top. And another thing too is people that come in with medium to thin hair and they bring in pictures of hair down to here and layered, and they want those layers. And I mean, it's impossible for me to add that much texture and layering to your hair and for it to still look like that. And that's, I think, another thing people don't understand. With layering, you need a pretty wide or pretty thick amount of hair to get a lot of layers, which that's another thing to hairdressers. You never say a lot of layers. We don't count layers. And it's funny, like, because I've heard people say like, oh, I want 3 layers in the back. If we did 3 layers and we showed you what 3 layers look like, you would not like it, I promise. I mean, it would literally look like a staircase, and that's, I mean, we don't cut layers across, so we can't count them. I mean, it all has to do, we follow a head shape and we follow like symmetry. The other crucial point about a hair appointment is be honest with your hairdresser. When she asks you, do you have any color in your hair, and you say no, I mean, I promise you that being honest will always be to your benefit. Because sometimes I've asked clients, or when clients want to go lighter, and I always ask, do you have color on your hair, or is this your natural color? And so many times clients will tell you, oh, this is my natural color. And I've always said, you know, if you have color on it, we have to do an extra step to get that color off, and then lighten it, and then tone it if needed, in order for it to be a pretty color. And a lot of clients will say like, no, this is my natural color. And sometimes it's not obvious, you know, when we're just looking at the hair, it can look like a natural color, so we can't tell. But as soon as we put color on there, we can tell. And it really puts the hairdresser in a bad position when she notices that, oh, actually there is some hair color here still, and now I need to remove it. So she needs to do an extra step, which takes more time, which she probably didn't allow for, and she has another client coming in. And on top of that, she now has to charge you extra, technically adding another service, but without choice. So it's just nice for both to know what you're getting into. Another thing that's super important, I think, be there on time. Being late 5, even 10 minutes can screw up the whole day. Hairdressers have allotted the amount of time that they think, or that your appointment should take, and they most likely have someone else after you. And as much as we like to focus completely solely on you while you're there and give you the best experience ever, if you're not there on time, then we don't want to rush your service just to be done by the next appointment. But it's really hard to get, you know, to do a good job and do, you know, give you the same great service as we always do, but now we're 15 minutes short. So these are a few things that you can say to your hairdresser, communicate to your hairdresser, in order to get exactly what you want. I hope this helped, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.